Good afternoon, guys, and welcome to the daily podcast where we showcase business owners, entrepreneurs. And today I'm happy to introduce Brandon Woodward from Florida. He's a lawyer, and he is a lawyer, managing partner of Woodward, Kelly, Fulton, and Kaplan. And they manage business law, which we're going to hear all about, contracts. He's also a speaker and bar president. So I'm really happy to have him on and discuss his work and talk about business law. So, Brandon, welcome.
Oh, thanks for having me, Chris.
Yeah, and I know briefly introduce yourself and what you do and help clients.
Sure. My name again is Brandon Woodward. I am the managing partner of a five-person law firm called Woodward, Kelly, Fulton, and Kaplan. We're headquartered in Southeast Florida, so not as far south as Miami-Dade, not that far, but north of West Palm. We have a West Palm office and a Stuart, Florida office. I handle the Stuart, Florida office. My part of the firm basically specializes in business law. It's a unique subspecialty that really dives into the nuances of how a business works and the interactions and transactions between business owners and businesses to other businesses, B2B, B2C, business to consumer. Like we spoke just a few minutes ago, my personal favorite thing, my end of the practice is mergers and acquisitions, which is the buying and selling of a business. And a business could be a practice, it could be a brick and mortar, it could be online, it could be software. But another big chunk of our business is all around transaction and deals. That's contract law. Getting a document ripped off the internet is a terrible way to run your business. Have your agreements done professionally. We've run into a dozen cases where somebody just took their client services agreement, pulled it from a former employer or got it from a friend, had a lawyer that doesn't do business law, had their neighbor, a divorce lawyer, write it up, and their choice of law, their venue was 7 states away. Well, nobody wants to go 7 states away to collect on a bill or a debt or something like that. And that's a mistake that, a business lawyer wouldn't make.
So, really interesting. So, and I love client avatars. So what are the types of clients that come to you? Either they have a dispute, or what are their problems or needs or questions that they need answered or fixed?
Well, a lot of times there's an education component. They're new to business, new to industry. I don't profess to know every aspect of every single business we buy or sell or advise. I can't be. There's too much out there to be a subject matter expert on franchise, distribution, software as a service. No, I know enough, and I know how to get those deals done. But my clients are the owners or managers, presidents, higher level kind of folks that make the decisions inside a business. We talked about practices. It could be a professional practice, or retail, or any combination of that. Construction, medical, legal, agriculture. Because it boils down to the same rudimentary concepts. It's if you're going to do a transaction with somebody, a handshake won't cut it in 2025. I wouldn't have a career if people still honored, well, I shook hands on delivering X number of tractors to this somebody on a certain date. Well, what if something happens? We live in Florida. We get hurricanes down here, and sure enough, schedules slip. Construction stalls. We're seeing tariffs, and if a lot of folks have contracts out there, and all of a sudden their price to produce something is now much higher. But what they didn't do is get relief on the other side. They're still locked into a certain price that they're about to sell that piece of goods for. Guess who's going to say the buyers? You can't make him pay more for it because you didn't see a tariff coming. That's a very real, very this week kind of problem that some of my clients are facing.
Yeah. And so the other question I have for you is, are the majority of your clients, they they're forward thinking, like you mentioned, like they have everything in written contracts, or are they coming to you because of some dispute because they didn't do what you were just talking about?
I would say it's 50-50. Some hear me speak. Some of them will go to a chamber of commerce or read something online or a podcast like this and go, what does my contract say about increase of prices of raw materials? How do I want to charge somebody a credit card and I want it to be auto renew. And I heard there's a new law about auto renewing things on a credit card. Well, who knows the answer? How do I, who puts that kind of thing out there? Well, attorneys like me put that kind of stuff together. The other ones are, a lot of times they learn from their mistakes. They didn't do the deal right last time and they got burned. Or they just weren't comfortable. They didn't understand their transaction. Maybe they sold a business before and don't think they got what they should have out of it. We don't handle employment law, but we certainly advise on it. It's like, hey, I want to staff up. Okay. Do you want to do that with an independent contractor or do you want to do that with a W-2 employee? I don't know. What's the difference? Well, that's again where I advise, well, what are you trying to get out of it? So you do have to have kind of a global view of your clients and, well, what are you trying to accomplish? And that's the service I provide. That's, it's different than litigation. It very much so. Litigators put on a suit. They're battlers. They're warriors. They are trying to win. And I was one for a very long time. I get it. My partners are litigators. But as fixing a problem after costs 2, if not 3 times more, maybe 10 times more than it would to fix it on the front side.
Yeah. And how do you, because you're based in Florida, how do you handle clients that are outside of, Florida, like, for example, Texas or New York or California? How do you?
To a point, business is business regardless of where you go. However, ethical rules are, I'm licensed in Florida, New York, and Missouri. If there's a nuance to Texas law, I have business attorneys that are good. I can get the client 3/4 of the way, if not all the way through, and be like, hey, would you take a look at this just to make sure that this doesn't, cross some nuance of Vermont, law. Right next to you, Louisiana. So kind of contracts under the old French provincial law are not enforceable. Whereas the other 49 states, it'd be a perfectly fine contract. You walk into a certain parish in Louisiana and you're cooked. Same way with some New England states. There are just certain terms that you want to make sure you're good at. But by and large, and it's like, I will advise with regard to Florida or New York law. Most of my clients are in Florida. On a practical, technical level, we service the entire state of Florida. I don't have to see my clients all the time. It's helpful. I like to meet with people. I'm a Midwesterner. It comes naturally. But this video kind of conference, it works. And one more thing, a few of my services are priced on a flat fee, which absolutely helps foster a more conducive back and forth with the client. They're not worried about my meter running. I have an hourly rate. We all do, whether you think about it or not. But for certain transactions, particularly mergers and acquisitions, the buying and selling of businesses, I have a flat fee, and the business owner's significant other can ask questions. What does this mean? How does this work? Why are we doing it this way? And that's it. I answer all those questions usually the same day or the next day. They get all the benefit of my information, my assistant out there, and it seems to work. They're comfortable with the price on the front end. It is upfront fee and it is not refundable, but at the same time, they know what they're getting. Last point on that is nobody goes up Everest without a guide. You just don't. You don't know enough about the terrain, the turf, and how to get there without a guide taking you up there. Same thing. Why would anybody sell a business that they are incredibly proud of? Likely their life's work, 7 figures, high 6, 7, maybe 8. If there's some real estate in it or there's some intellectual property, you can see how. Why would you go with that? Why would you go forward with a transaction without a guide? Yet, Chris, it's Wednesday. I already had a client telling me, or a potential client saying, "No, we got it from here," or "I'm going to use my I'm going to use my lawyer that put my will together. And I'm like, okay, the law firm on the other side is Winston Strawn. All right, they're the fourth biggest in the country, but you got this. And I wish him the best.
Yeah. Um, the other question I have for you is because, a lot of, like, for example, healthcare, it's undergoing significant changes. And I think AI is kind of like the hammer in the nail. Um, how are you viewing AI? How are you using AI in your practice and in your day-to-day operations?
Um, I use it. And there's not a lot of attorneys that have fully jumped both feet into it. There's a couple of software companies that really cater to the attorney side of things. I was in law school when Westlaw came out. And prior to that, you literally went to a stack of books in their College of Law library, or you went down to the law library at the courthouse and you started reading. Now those days are gone. Westlaw took over for that. AI took all of Westlaw and just condensed it down to, searches. There's lots of anecdotal, Instagram stories about writing a brief where it just made stuff up. I use it for research. I use it for drafting, correspondence. I want to say these 5 things. Please put it in, the way I would write it, and it comes out beautifully. I had to do a summary of a 50 states law on, I believe it was exotic animal skin law. And I have a boot company as a client. It's a public record. I'm on part of their public facing stuff. And they're like, well, can we import X, ostrich hide or some random endangered species? Can we bring that into West Virginia? AI did that. All right. You have to do that, or you're going to pay an associate a lot of money to sit on Westlaw, and Westlaw charges, $1 a minute. AI had that 50 state summary done for me in about 15 minutes. I had to prompt it. I had to correct it. It had a lot of misinformation, had a lot of bad information. So AI is by no means where it should be. But for research, for writing, as bar president, I had to write an update every month, and I would write what I wanted to say. And then I would say, would you add polish to this? So it doesn't sound like I'm this Midwesterner guy that, y'all and thee, and, and it came out really well.
Yeah. So kind of, I really enjoyed this topic, and I really, you're very successful. You're on the podcast, and a lot of the audience and listeners, viewers, they run businesses. They're like, lawyers, doctors, accountants, and have families. So talk about balancing both business and family. And you also talk about kind of outsourcing. Like, if you could hire a assistant for one of those, which would you pick and why?
To the first part, I do a fair amount of coaching of other attorneys. And I always open every coaching or every talk I ever give with your practice, be it a dental practice, a financial advisory firm, a medical practice. I don't care what you're doing, a life coach. We represent artists and athletes. It should work for you. You shouldn't work for your business. Great book over here, Profit First. That's Mike Malkowitz. I know you're aware of it. That book changed my life. It changed the way I run my practice. And if your firm, if what you've built doesn't serve you, you're doing something incredibly wrong. And I get these attorneys in my office that are, they look good, but they're like, I didn't pay myself the last 3 months. I go, did your staff get paid? Yeah. I said, why? And I only half joking. I'm like, do you have too much overhead? Do you not have enough business in the door? So to your question of balance, a corporate practice does not go to court. We do not have calendars. We have meetings and we have deadlines internal. But our world is not going to collapse on a Friday afternoon because mom didn't bring the child back to dad at 4:00 on Friday. And I have friends that have family law practices, and they just rue the Mondays after 3-day weekends because something's got to go, something's got to get done. They don't like that, but the rest of it is build your practice around you. Our practice happens to be, we are technically closed on Friday. And that's when we do the work we do for our clients. We return calls. We don't necessarily take new work. We answer the phone if we have to. But yeah, you really want to make sure that you're taking the time to mentally give your full attention to the clients. To that extent, last tip here is reduce your client base. If you've got cheap, unappreciative, tire kicking, one more thing kind of clients, let them go. If they complain about your rate, let them go. All right. It's not worth it. They will drain you. Against my wall over here is an electronic board, and it has the clients I'm working on right now. It's about 9 or 10. I don't have 400 files here. I couldn't. And I let one go last week that was just pushed my buttons one too many times. And I said, I don't think that's specialization. And that's when you're a specialist doing only business law, just like your listeners are tops at what they do, charge accordingly. Your good clients are going to stay because they love what you do. Your bad clients are going to leave because they're price sensitive. Sorry, I mean, that's a bit of a rant, but it is what it is. You had a second question. Help me remember what that was.
Oh, if you could hire a personal assistant for your business or family, which one would you pick, and what's the first thing you'd have them handle?
Oh, I would think a personal assistant for the family would be a huge help to my wife. And my good friend, Steve Riley, who runs Atticus Practice Management, wrote a book about it. It's called The Domestic Assistant. And you can hire for an hourly wage. It's not tremendous, kind of a doer, kind of a be all. I'm not being at all sexist. It's a nanny, house helper sort of person that can help plan a party, let a contractor into the house, get the dog to, I'm dealing with this today, get the dog to the dermatologist. My dog has a dermatologist. It's literally 2 towns over. And my wife and I absolutely cannot get this dog to the dog dermatologist to keep it from itching its ears. So if I had that, certainly it's not a parental role, but houses run like businesses. My wife and I are both professional. And at the end of the day, we look at each other and like, what are we going to feed these rugrats? And it's like, well, sounds like chicken fingers again, or we eat out. But there's this other thing somebody told me, I'll probably mangle the quote. Someone somewhere out there is someone that loves to do the thing that you hate. And that stuck with me. I do not have a sort of domestic assistant or anything like that. But, if I had one or that role comes available, because look at what my billing hour is. What, one more hour for you, doctor, one more hour for me, one more hour for my wife has paid that person off twice over. Sorry, a bit of a soapbox, but it was called The Domestic Assistant. I think it's by Steve Riley.
Yeah. And there's a really great book on just how to buy back your time. I think, similar to very like Profit First, that really changed, kind of like what is your buyback rate? What is your hourly rate? And anything less than that, outsource it because that hour is very precious. So
it's analogous to Who Not How.
Yeah, exactly. And so I love the vibe of this conversation. And if people want to learn from you and actually, reach out to you if they have, contracts, chaos, or they, preventative either, how can they follow you, find you, and reach out to you?
I'm on a couple different socials. It's Woodward Kelly Fulton Kaplan on Facebook. Our Instagram is surprisingly lively. I did not know that is Bizlaw Brandon. I invented it years ago. BIZLAW Brandon. Of course, our website, and I think I said you've got that in some of our other correspondence. That's WKFKlaw.com. Every Google search, if you just type Brandon Woodward, is going to get me. Brandon Woodward Attorney, Brandon Woodward Attorney, Florida. The firm is Woodward Kelly Fulton Kaplan. Again, the WKFKlaw.com. LinkedIn is great. I love LinkedIn. That's because I find it to be a community of professionals. You don't see a lot of closet organizers or pet sitters on there. Which is not to say I don't have closet organizers and pet sitters as clients. I will take them all. But the bottom line is I do like my LinkedIn folks, and it's a neat way to get a hold of me because you instantly see where the other person's business is. Oh, you're VP of X. You've done this for 2 different things. I don't have to break down, what a profit and loss statement is to a financial planner, whereas I might have to for somebody else.
Yeah, excellent. I really enjoyed this conversation, and thanks so much for the on behalf of the audience and viewers, and keep up the great work.
Oh, one more thing that I do give away, and it's right on the website, wkfklaw.com. If you or anybody else is thinking about selling your business, there's some steps to take way ahead of the game before it's time, before you're too old or too sick, or there's an incident, or the market turns on you. How to prepare your business for sale. I wrote a white paper a couple of years ago. It is for free. You can download it at the very, very bottom of my website. It seems to get a lot of traction. If you don't need it now, that's fine, but know it's there. By the way, hiring the attorney is like the fourth step on it. Okay. So it's not find me. It's here's how to get there. Eventually you'll need to be talking to me or somebody like me, but take these first 3 steps, a year, 2 years before you're even thinking about an exit strategy. And I give that away for anybody, and I'm happy to answer questions for it. But Chris, thank you so much for having me on.
Excellent. I really enjoyed this conversation.
All right. Leave it there. Have a good one.